Every real project for a real client comes with actual problems, not just making things look pretty. So in this video, I want to show you the actual challenges of a real world client project that my team and I worked on. We're going to take a look at 3 real problems and show you how design, systems thinking, and the right tools pulled everything together for a successful product launch and over $2 million in funding. This is our client called Vinyl. You can find them over at usevinyl.com. They're an up-and-coming AI meeting assistant for the accounting and bookkeeping space. They are an awesome team because they have an amazing development team, amazing product management team, marketing team. They have great vision and they had a great idea for this application. They just needed a strategic partner in the design realm, and so that's why they came to us, hired me and my team as their fractional design team to get them up and running to that milestone to raise that $2 million, which is very much not a joke. You can read the blog post about it over here on their website. They did indeed raise over $2 million. And this is a direct reflection of their team's work as well as our team's work to get them to that milestone. Very proud to work with them. They're awesome. I consider them friends now because we just worked so closely for so long. This is where we introduce the first problem that we helped this client to solve. Not typography or the color of the buttons, but as this team was scaling, and they are a scaling team, getting ready for funding to scale some more, adding new team members, new designers, new developers. How do we design an app that can scale quickly as features roll out and things scale up without creating design debt, without having to go back and rebuild everything from the ground up? Well, let's take a look at the starting file. This is what they came to us with. Really just a couple of screens. And we have a login screen, a dashboard screen, some list and detail views, meeting records, just a few things. And this was working in their MVP prototype. Again, very talented team. And they had a very small kind of rudimentary design system. The first thing that we did was actually bring everything over in and do what we call an apples to apples retheme. We created a new theme for them. And this theme includes all of their onboarding and all of their dashboard screens, all of their recording screens, list view, gallery views, detail views. But you'll notice here, we continued to build more flows, more screens, more UI, action items, sharing, syncing, scheduling, integrations. We have AI chat, CRM, global search, all of these different net new screens. But the big point here is that we didn't just build screens. You'll notice if we go over to the file and I click on variables, there's no variables that are being used here in this file. Everything is being pulled from a design system, an abstracted design system. It's just a little bit more robust than their previous one was. We have an icon set. We have all their components like buttons and fields, menus and cards, profile items, miscellaneous interface elements, but we also have a full variable set that equates to design tokens for them. They could start building inside of their code base. Now, the reason that this matters is because we want to build as much as we possibly can at the component level first. We want to theme there. We want to apply variables and colors and spacing and numbers to the component level. That way, everything we do inside of our UI is actually component based. Like you can see here, our navigation, our rows, our buttons, everything is component based. And so this will allow them to continue to use those pre-assembled or pre-created Lego blocks as they scale in the future and just reapply them to new views, new screens, new flows. What this also means is right out of the gate, we have functionality where we can take things and move them from light mode into dark mode, and you'll see that everything just jumps right over. Same thing with recordings here. We can jump from light mode over to dark mode, and everything just rethemes. All of this is coming from the variables that are built into the design system. If you don't know much about variables and building out design tokens inside of Figma, let me give you a little bit of a drill down really quickly. We like to create a set of primitive tokens here. These are void of any sort of semantic meaning. We're just have hex values in here. We use those for the brand colors and the blacks and the grays and the base colors. And you can see those all broken down here into those groups and categories. But these don't have any real sort of semantic meaning. So we take those variables and build them into a set of semantic tokens, things that are the base everything, the backgrounds and you know, the text and the secondaries and buttons all have their own variables, and they're leveraging those primitive variables from our primitives collection. This way we can create our light and our dark theme. We can create other themes as well. But this way it's very, very easy to understand. This component is using this semantic token. And when the mode switches, it goes from this primitive to that primitive. Everything is baked in at the smallest atomic level or component level. That way, when you start to make those changes, they scale quickly. And so the big problem that we solved for them was design an app that scales quickly using systems, using structures, using components, using a UI library, and ultimately a very small but scrappy design system. This is going to allow them, and it continues to allow them since we've passed the project off to them, so they have their own internal design teams now, to just continue leveraging that system, and they don't have to deviate from the plan that's been set in place. They have a game plan, and they can just keep running that game plan as they scale. The second problem is directly tied to the first problem that we solved for this client. Because they are a scaling company, they need online presence. They need marketing assets. They need a marketing website. But the problem that we're trying to solve here is not to make a website that's pretty. It's to make a website that is a few things. Number one, it's a website that can scale without breaking. And that website should cater to their core demographic of investors and new users. So how do we create that website for those users that looks amazing, but can scale without breaking? Because at the end of the day, this website that we built for them inside of Framer, and that's the place I turn to build websites, because it is, in my opinion, the best, fastest, easiest way to build high-end websites is to use Framer, and those websites can scale really, really well. And yes, we built this entire website, and it is sexy. It has cool animations, and it performs well, and custom interactions, and Rive animations, and native animations, and integrations with stuff. So yes, it looks good, but again, looking good is not the problem we're trying to solve. It's helpful, but the problem we're trying to solve is to cater to our demographic and build a website that can scale without breaking. So I want to talk about a few of the features that are very helpful in Framer to do this. And yes, we went through a full web design package here. We went through discovery, built sitemaps, style tiles and mood boards, wireframes, and then built out all the designs here, and then brought everything into Framer. So here we are in Framer, and one of the things that I love about working inside of Framer, and especially now they've just launched their content editing 2.0 version, is you can actually load up the website. Once we've handed the website off to the client, they can actually load it up, and you'll notice our little pencil up here. It can actually be drug around and tucked anywhere to the side to keep it out of the way for you, which is kind of a fun new update. But you can also click on content editing, and the user can actually go directly in here. I'm on the .com. I'm on the main domain, can go in here and start editing text and changing it. Not just that, but they can also grab sections and move them around. And so because we don't want their new design team or their developers to have to spend their precious time managing a marketing website, their marketing team can do it, and we can establish guidelines and constraints on what things the marketing team is able to actually edit and change on the website. Here you can see we're allowing them to change headlines by typing in here. They can select images and upload new images. If it's a variable of something, they can update to a different variant. If it's a component, they can change the buttons and everything that has to do with the buttons and all the properties inside of those. And they can also drag some layout around. Now, if we don't want them to do that, we allowed them to do that with everything here, change images, move things around. But if we don't want them to do that, it's as simple as coming into Framer, check this out, heading into a section. Like for instance, here we have our heading section, and then we could just press Command L and lock that section down. That section is now locked and nothing can be edited inside of there. You'll notice the buttons are available to be edited. So let's just actually finish editing. We'll go back to the site really quick. We'll turn content editing on, and you'll notice that content editing is available, but I can't actually mess with my headline anymore. I can change and iterate on my buttons down below. Now, if you want something inside of there, maybe I don't want somebody to mess with the headline, but I do want them to mess with the body copy, I can just unlock that, and you'll see it immediately becomes available for editing. And we can still move things around a little bit if we want to. So being able to lock certain things down is super helpful inside of Framer. Let's go over to the product page actually. Take a look at this. This is another great example. If a user or if our client wanted to come down and they wanted to move into edit mode, they can actually grab entire sections and move them left to right or right to left. So we have this great waterfall layout here. And if they wanted to add a new section in here and just change the direction of these, they can. If they want to click inside of our icon set and change the icon and change some of the styles of it, maybe it's a thin icon or it is a filled icon. I think we had that at bold. I think it looks nice on bold. We'll put it back there. Or actually, I think we had it on duotone. Yeah, duotone's good. So we have all of these options that are made available. But again, if you don't want those options to be available and you want to put governance on this website, what can be changed, what can be maintained, then locking things down inside of the Framer editor actually dictates what that marketing team can do when they're in the content edit mode. Super simple. It makes changes possible. It makes them easy. You can do small changes, large changes, and it gives permission to what things can be maintained or changed inside of the website. The third problem that we solved for this client, and specifically on their Framer marketing site, is how do we build a website that also has complex functionality? It's easy to maintain and scale up, but does have some complexity to it. There's a couple of cool ways to do this inside of Framer. I want to show you a couple of my favorites on this project. The first one you see here is on the pricing page. They have a lot of different pricing tiers, and each of those can be broken down by different currencies. But we do have this pricing calculator above, which allows you to say, I want to shop in USD. Here's how many team members I have. You'll see that the estimated amount of hours that you're going to use, or AI credits, are being quoted to you, and the price down below. How many meetings might I have using those team members, and what's the average duration of those meetings? It's going to give you an example of the type of plan growing at $165 a month. I click and it brings me down here so I can select my plan and hit on growing and make that purchase. That type of complex functionality is very difficult to do. And the way that we actually solved this inside of Framer was just to lean on Framer's workshop feature. So you can actually open Command K here and you can open up Workshop, which is an AI assistant to build elements and components and functionality inside of your website. When I double click on the component itself, you can see I have already gone through, but we have this usage calculator that has been created for us. You actually find that usage calculator down here inside of the workshop section. It created custom code. And this custom code, we can see here, we can demo it over in the right-hand section. It actually created over 7 or almost 800 lines of custom code to bring this to life. I'm literally tapping in to details and content and data from the website, and I only had to do it with just a couple of prompts, telling it what to do, and then just prompting it to be the way that I want it to be. Now, what's really cool about this also is if we go back to the site here, you can actually click on this component, and you can see that I told Workshop which properties that I want for it. I told it, it has to have a title and a subtitle, button text. I can change the font for certain elements and change the design for all of this, the border radius. Everything here is customizable, changing the default currency. So you can assign any type of data and have Workshop do all of that complex stuff for you. So the first way that you can solve and build complex features inside of Framer is to use their Workshop tool and have it do it for you. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can just write custom code as well. For instance, we saw this blog here. It has a really cool feature that as you scroll down, we have this fixed panel, this table of contents that's actually tracking all of the different headers that are on our page. Like this header that says our journey so far, you can find it here. We can click on these and it just anchor links you through all of that blog post. Now, this is a custom component that we actually built for the client. We can drop down here and you can see over in our right-hand bar, we have this table of context.tsx. That's a custom code component, just about under 84 lines of code. And we're just telling it, just write this code really quickly and told it, hey, I want you to track onto headlines, find that headline to display, grab it, create an ID, and then basically generate a table of contents for it. So when we go back to our blog pages, we'll just kind of head over to our insights, blog and jump right here, you can see that we have this element that's not filled when we're in preview mode, but that is our code component. And you'll notice we have a series of properties over here. It's looking for H3s because that's what we've told it to look for. And we're going to just set the placeholder text, and the links are all kind of built in and dialed in so that when we preview, we get all of that information no matter what it looks like over here. It's basically taking the content from the rich text editor in the CMS. It's extracting those headlines, turning them into links, shoving them into this sidebar, and it's done all with just a little bit of custom code. You can either use Workshop to do this as well, or you can use the custom code area and you can just write your own code if you want. It has code assist, it's fully featured for you, and you can even write it, play with it, and then have Workshop kind of doctor it up and fix it later on, which is an amazing thing. You don't have to go elsewhere, go check out Claude Code or do something else. You can do it all here natively inside of the platform. And so this is some complex functionality that you can add into your websites. It doesn't just have to be simple one-page landing pages or portfolios in Framer. It can be robust, enterprise level scaling sites with complex functionality, and you don't actually have to know how to write all the code to do it. Well, that's it. Those are a few real problems that my team and I solved for a real world client. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I do lots of content about design and Framer development and even case study walkthroughs like this one. So if you want to know when the next case study comes out, ring that bell so you get notified that the content has gone live. Make sure to check the description down below for some helpful links to Framer, Figma, as well as an invite to my Design Champs community where you can learn more about design and development and building your creative career and business. Hope you're having an amazing week, designing amazing things, making amazing things, and we'll see you in the next one, Design Champs.